If a Souls-like Metroidvania and Anthony Gaudi had a baby, then that poor baby would be Blasphemous. It features the nearly creepy architecture of Gaudi's work in Barcelona, while offering both the sprawling exploration and game-changing upgrades of a flawless Metroidvania. Immediately, what's most novel about the gameplay is enemy design. The enemies complement each other as well as the environment. You have to dodge both projectiles and flying enemies at the same time. There are enemies who bolt through conveniently narrow hallways, and enemies who summon other enemies. Like units in an army, the enemies aren't formidable by themselves, which is why you need to excel at both isolating them and memorizing solutions to whatever behaviors they exhibit. While Blasphemous demonstrates as excellent an exploration mechanic as that of any other Metroidvania, the game doesn't reward you for exploring. Rather, it crucifies you for refusing to explore. Key upgrades for movement and combat are behind illusory walls, obnoxiously vague side quests, and out-of-the-way agility puzzles. You needn't unveil every secret to complete a playthrough, but if you don't explore, the bosses will be infinitely more difficult, and you'll die hundreds of times unless you memorize each boss's moveset in its entirety. There are lots of unnecessary in-game items, such as equipable trinkets that grant partial immunity to elemental attacks. As you explore, you won't know whether you'll find one such trinket or one of the 7 major base damage upgrades. Still, chopping a few illusory walls and completing most implicit side quests will make you much more effective against bosses. During my first playthrough, the final boss took me 100 tries, but during my second playthrough, when I reached the final boss after discovering many more upgrades, I killed him on my first try. And these playthroughs were about 2 years apart, so I don't think I benefited from muscle memory the second time. That's the difference exploration makes in this game. It's more important than memorizing boss movesets. The enemies aren't nearly as tough as these bosses. In fact, the main complaint Steam's curmudgeons maintain about Blasphemous's combat is, while its parries and ripostes are nice and crunchy, it's mundane. However, because of how conventional it is, it succeeds in emulating great combat from older games whose graphics are similarly pixelated. For example, one of the first combat mechanics you'll notice is that your final attack of a 3-hit combo deals more damage than its first 2 attacks. Since the enemies are much less harmful if you pick them off one by one, and since the game is the most exploration-heavy of the hundreds of games I've played, I can attest confidently that Blasphemous rewards you for taking your time. You don't need good reflexes to play. All you need is enough patience to search for upgrades. Like other Souls-like games, Blasphemous is about playing according to the enemy's tempo, and observing the rhythm to which each enemy attack adheres. But the bosses in Blasphemous aren't necessarily fast. Genichiro's fast, Ornstein's fast. The Nameless King zips around the cloudy field after the first phase. Blasphemous gives you a slow tempo with which to dispatch enemies while adding the minor complication of choosing between jumping and dashing in order to dodge. The combat isn't bad at all. It's a secondary element in a game about exploration and mobility. Unless you're collecting experience points, most of which come from bosses, avoiding enemies is as useful as attacking them. Otherwise, everyone has something nice to say about the art and music. The Gaudi-esque artwork in the warped biblical world of Custodia is delightfully creepy, if you're into that sort of thing. The most humanoid enemies don't appear to be fully human. They're more like collections of human body parts and necromancers haphazardly stitched together. I love the music, too. The whole soundtrack contains flamenco guitar, and there's one song that sounds almost exactly like La Malagueña. When you're done listening to me, go to the search bar and type Para un Mártir del Compás by Carlos Viola. Blasphemous has one of the best game soundtracks I've ever heard. I can listen to it all day, and sometimes I do. While I admit the narrative isn't extensive, every sentence an NPC utters sounds like metal lyrics, so I'm happy to read it aloud with an appropriate Corey Taylor impression. Writing this review is so challenging because I'd rather keep playing the game. I don't think my performance in Blasphemous will ever satisfy me unless I finally manage to clear every nook and cranny in one playthrough. This is why I drink. Blasphemous goes for $25 on Steam. Through routine maintenance, the Game Kitchen has added all DLC to the base game. This DLC adds several major time-sensitive agility puzzles that are a lot of fun both to find and to complete. There's additionally a boss rush mode, in which you may test your combat abilities against several bosses in quick succession. If you put it on your bucket list, you're possibly in for the best Metroidvania of your life beside Hollow Knight.